I'm Dr. Brandi.
I'm Dr. Joe.
And you're in for a
hell of a ride.
Everything. Life, love, and legacy. So I've been described as an iconic licensed psychologist, but I'm also a global consultant, speaker, trainer, leader in the mental health game.
I love it. Well, a lot of people know me as an international speaker and peak performance coach, and I've written a few books and done some video courses as well.
Yes, you have. And we happen to be married.
We're married. 12 years.
12 years, almost 12 years. And we have 2 beautiful boys.
Yes.
And we are both doctors and entrepreneurs.
Yes, indeed. And with us, you're going to hear everything: purpose and identity, money and careers, relationships.
And don't you forget health and wellness.
Okay. All right. Well,
don't forget health and wellness.
Well, they got to come on this journey with us. Why?
Buckle up.
Let's because ride. We're going to ride.
We're going to ride.
Let's get into it. All right. So,
you know what that makes me think of?
What?
Roll with me. Break it down. Remember that song?
I don't know that song.
You don't remember
that? What's that song?
You want to roll with me? Some.
Wait,
yeah,
who is? Oh, what year?
I can't remember who did it. Okay, never mind.
I thought you was singing Pretty Ricky at first.
No.
Well, that's Ride With Me. Ride with me.
Oh yeah, that's even better. Ride with me.
Yeah. But anyways.
Okay.
So how you feeling? We always talk weather report first. Yeah. What's the weather report with you?
No, it's feeling right now like a bit of a soft rain.
Okay.
Like a really pleasant, soft rain.
I can't stand the rain. Boom, boom, boom. They don't know that. That's back.
Rain on me. Isn't that a song?
Rain. I don't know. Rain down on me.
Is that what we're doing today?
All right. Anyways.
What's your weather report, baby?
To be honest, I'm upbeat. I'm feeling good. And at the same time, I see some clouds coming in. Okay. Real talk. I see some clouds coming in only because of uncertainty.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I guess I'll get into that for me. Like, what's top of mind? Like, right before this, got a call from my cousin about my little cousin who is amazing on TikTok. Like, everybody knows him. Jarvis, but I'm thinking about him right now, right? I don't want to disclose, but I'm just thinking about him.
He's on your
He's
heart.
on my heart. He's on my mind. Cause that's my little cuz. That's my little cuz. He's bigger than me, but that's my little cuz. And so, when we're done, I need to make a call to figure out, like, make sure everything is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's top of mind for me. What about you?
Well, I guess so. I mean, on some level, that's top of mind for me too, because your family's my family.
Yeah.
But I've got a few things circling in there. The other thing that's top of mind is just reflecting on our last episode and just thinking about you, boo.
Yeah. Okay. What you thinking about?
I'm just thinking about all the ways in which what we've experienced individually, how that's impacted our dynamic, like our relationship. We talk so much about our marriages, our 3 marriages, and, like, how some of the struggles, challenges, and even some of the things that I would call our resilience boosters, how a lot of that has come from the things we've been through.
Yeah.
And I know I've been hearing, like, that people want a more intimate, like, look, like what's going on behind closed doors or behind the scenes. Because, okay, I've heard us described in many ways.
Yeah.
Black love goals.
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite is like Barack and Michelle.
Oh, goodness. Joe Rock and Michelle.
I love them.
Well,
I want them to be my friend.
True. Because I think they're a great representation of relationships. And I think what's more important is you're starting to hear a little bit more about it wasn't easy for them.
No, it's not easy.
Right.
Still.
Yeah, for sure. And I think for us, as you think about the last episode, we've been impacted by a lot, whether it's our upbringing, the way we grew up, things that's happened to us in our lives. We've been through some things and we've been impacted. So we move a certain way, we operate a certain way. And in reality, when I think about it, sometimes the way in which I grew up and the way in which you grew up has clashed.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who would you say were the most prominent influencers
in my
your
life?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. My mom and my grandma.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. No doubt. No doubt. Now, if you want to talk like just me being a man and growing up, like I would pay attention to my older cousin DB Donnie.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
so you know what I mean? So there's a lot of different ways in which I've been impacted in the way that I see the world. And I've had to release a few things, right? A great speaker, Dr. Calvin Mackey, talks about how we need to learn, unlearn, and relearn.
Yeah.
Right?
You got to reboot the system.
Absolutely. Because we've been programmed.
We have been.
I say it all the time, just like a cell phone, right? There's a reason why we get those updates every couple of months to upgrade the operating system. As humans, we've been programmed. All of us are recovering from our childhoods.
Word.
And so you got to make sure to constantly and consistently upgrade your operating system.
You're making me think of a session I had, my personal therapy session I had the other day, and we were talking about creating new neural pathways, like how your nervous system and your mind, and I do this with my clients too, where you like accumulate these attitudes, beliefs that are like habitual, like they're just these implicit habitual patterns of thinking.
Yeah.
And the wiser we get, it's work to like restructure them and create new neural pathways.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, because think about it. When you learn something new, you can't not know. So now that you know, now it's your internal, your brain, your mindset, what you're used to fighting against the newness, right? And it's very hard it's a struggle. And that's why people, they oftentimes, and I've done it myself, I've taken 5 steps forward, 3 steps back.
Right.
5 steps, right? And it's constant work.
And that's a part of the process.
Yeah.
Like you can't, I'm coming to learn still that I can't get frustrated with that part of it. Like that is inevitable.
Yeah.
You know, it's just inevitable.
That's real. So with that said, when we talk about like what's top of mind for you and you were thinking about the last episode, is there anything specific?
Yes, actually.
Okay.
So I was just thinking about how like so much of, so this even happens in therapy, right? When I ask clients, you do a typical intake for anybody that's ever done therapy before, and for those that haven't, a good therapist is going to do a thorough psychosocial assessment. You're going to get a sense of your life, right?
And for those who don't have a therapist, get you a therapist.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you need to learn how, go get the book, How to Find a Therapist by myself, Dr. Joe Johnson. Anyways, purposeoverdreams.com. Go get it. Okay, sorry, baby.
That.
But you set it up, so.
I mean, that was very appropriate, honey. But definitely, like, so a part of what we talk about is tell me a little bit about your traumas.
Yeah.
But what I have learned about my people is that we would like, we don't see it as traumatic.
Yeah.
It's just the way life has been.
For sure.
And then 6 sessions later, somebody says something, I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
But so I don't ask about trauma. I ask about significant life events that have influenced who you are today, that have shaped who you are, brought you to the now. Yeah. And I was thinking about that in our last session, how I talked about, losing the most pivotal person in my life as a child, my mom, in such a unfortunate and unexpected way. She's 27 years old. And then you talked about like, violence, like being held at gunpoint, not once, but twice. Twice, right? Yeah. Just twice.
I mean, you hear people shooting and you running and it's all kind of stuff that happened, but me individually, yes, twice.
But like even that, like it sounds like a really common experience for you growing up. And we just talk about it like, dang, this is a part of our story. But the impact, like how that has influenced your thoughts, your behaviors, your feelings, and ultimately our marriage.
For sure.
Our parenting.
Yeah.
I don't know. That just felt like a really important place to go.
So I'll share this because, and I've shared this with you, and, we've done our own work with therapists, spiritual work. I've done ayahuasca retreat. We've done a relationships retreat in Sedona, Arizona, which was amazing, which was more work on the individual versus like the couple, but you see how the individuals impact the couple relationship. But let me just say, I'll start with this. I often describe growing up in what some will call survival mode.
Right.
Right. Now, let me just be very clear, though, when I say that. My mother and father both worked. Okay. I lived with my mother at this time because, once again, I lived with my father. He was in the military. We lived with my father for a second on a military base, but then we moved with my mother. And I watched my mother like struggle, but do what she could to take care of her children. Right. And so I describe that time in my life as survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, oftentimes you're taught strategies and skills to navigate survival mode, right? Think about it. If you're in the desert and you're in survival mode, or in the jungle survival mode, you need certain tactical skills to navigate and survive,
Yes.
right? And so
we're not doing freaking vision board.
No.
You know,
no.
it's
the real deal.
This is like survival.
It's the real deal, right?
Basic needs.
And so one of the ways that I believe I learned to navigate survival mode was don't depend on nobody.
Yes.
Do not depend on nobody. Depend on yourself. You can do it yourself. Figure it out yourself. Self. Make sure you're able to do it yourself, right? And for me, that's what I did. I figured out how to do things for myself. I didn't need a lot of help. But this is what happens when you get older and you're no longer in survival mode, but you're operating as though you're still in survival mode. Now I'm coming to our relationship, right? What happened was when you have somebody that has your back, when you have somebody that's on your team and wants you to win, I'm going to talk to my camera now. You have somebody that has your back, they're on your team, and they want you to win, but you're still in survival mode. What happens is you can't receive what that relationship is trying to give you because you're still stuck in how you were operating when you were in survival mode.
Baby, you done said a whole thing.
Come on now.
First, I'm going to encourage you to use I statements because it really personalizes it. Like you're talking about your story. You know?
I. Let me be very clear. I'm saying you because I'm talking to folks, but I'm talking about my story. I'm talking about what I've been through. I got you.
You feel me, honey?
Oh, yeah, I got you.
Oh, babe, that was just a demonstration, actually, of exactly what you're talking about. You allowed me to have influence over you. Like you allowed me to and you received my feedback.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying?
I got you.
I mean, I hate to be extra, about it, but I feel like that is a little bit of what you're talking about.
But that's real.
Like allowing someone to have influence over your life and trusting that they will bring benefit and good to you and that they have your best interest at heart, because you're right. I feel like the consequence was like a shutting out.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it's not an intended shutting out or a secrecy or an isolation. It's all based upon safety, really.
Yeah.
Like all I can rely on is myself. Like you're very self-preservation.
Mm-hmm.
Like and that's not a bad thing. It's probably gotten you to where you are, but I love that you're emphasizing like, you have to catch up to yourself. Like I am transcending where I was.
Yeah.
So I don't need to operate the way I was.
Yep.
I've survived. Now I'm ready to thrive. I'm ready to commune. I've invited this woman into my life and she's amazing and fabulous and awesome.
I didn't say all that, but you are.
And so it's like, trust that.
Yeah.
Trust that you chose well, I love that. Yeah. So I would agree. I think that was very much felt for me. It's kind of feeling like I felt a lot of times like you admired me, but didn't include me.
And that's real.
And then what started to happen is it started to feel like you were using me. Like I admire you, you're shiny, and you've got all these ideas and you inspire me. Let me go be great and you stay over there. And I know that wasn't intended, but that's like what it felt like at that time. Yeah. And again, I love that it's all connected to how you learn to take care of yourself. So it's not inherently an asshole-ish thing.
I get, yeah. There's really nothing I can say because I think like as I reflect and as I look back, I was also in pursuit of what I desire to do, and I thought who I desired to be, but as you grow older, those things evolve.
Yeah, they change.
Right? And so sometimes I do believe that a woman with a man that's not operating in their purpose, and I said this in the last episode, I believe, that will be a hard relationship. Because because from my experience, the man will always, especially if the woman is doing her thing, right? In terms of like just a bad, I ain't gonna curse, but just doing her thing career-wise, just the way she carries herself, a man will start to feel away. They'll start to feel sometimes insecure, like, hey, who are you? And I'm supposed to be, right? And so if a man is not in their purpose and they have this level of insecurity, that will cause a lot of turmoil in a relationship.
No, that's real. But I think you're also speaking to like what my growing edge was though too. Because if the unwise woman, which I'm speaking about myself, at that time might feel threatened by that.
Yeah.
You know, so not like, so I mean, I just think that's a hard thing to navigate. I remember, I really want to get to kind of some of what I brought, but I do want to say something about what you're sharing.
Okay.
I remember, I think that independence in you. So I grew up coddled. And I think some of it was because I lost my mom, and some of it was because I didn't have a dad. So I think my family really overcompensated in a lot of ways to make sure I didn't feel lost.
Right.
And so they did everything.
Including washing your clothes.
Oh my goodness. My Gammy is the most loving, selfless person I've ever met in my life. And that too has taught me a lot because it's self-sacrificing, and that's not healthy. But that's another topic for another day.
Well, we ain't gonna just slip past. You ain't learn to wash your clothes until college.
I didn't.
Okay.
My roommate taught me how to wash clothes. I'm 18 years old, don't know how to wash no damn clothes. My grandmother washed my clothes. My grandma cleaned my room.
That's bad.
I didn't cook. She'd be like, get out of my kitchen. Like, she did everything.
Yeah.
And it was from a place of love and like care. I also think it was probably from a place of managing her own distress. Okay. But we can talk about that later. Yeah. But I think what I did is I brought that energy into our marriage. So where you were like excessively independent, I was excessively selfless. So I would always be thinking of you in ways that were sacrificial to me and then resenting you because you didn't do it like I did. And I remember us talking, babe. Do you remember like how we were how I would get so mad? Like, let me tell y'all about my husband, what he used to do. He would go to Arby's or somewhere and get some food at 6 p.m. and come home and sit and just eat it. And I'm sitting there, the kids are sitting there, like, we hungry, you know? You didn't even think about us.
That's true.
And whereas I was constantly like thinking about what other people needed, even if they didn't need it. It was really connected to what I thought they needed.
For sure.
So I would do things that I never really had to do.
Yeah.
And then be mad that you didn't thank me for it. And it's like, I didn't even ask you to do that. You know? So that's one of the ways it would clash. You know, I'd be like, you're so thoughtless. You don't think of anybody but yourself. And it's like,
you tell me you're selfish.
Yeah, it felt that way.
Yeah, and it definitely probably looked that way because I do remember, and it wasn't kids. I think it was when we had our first kid, because I think I got it together by the time we had our kids.
You were getting there.
I was on my journey. Yeah. But
you've arrived, babe.
Yeah.
You're
hopefully,
so kind.
Hopefully.
Yo, I went downstairs the other day after working. Not only was my salad made, but someone that was helping our family, their salad was made as well.
Well, you know,
thanks, honey.
I try to do things different, and I'll just let you in on a little secret. The times when I don't feel like bringing nothing back, I'll just eat at the restaurant. I'm just kidding.
No, you not. Well, and I mean, that's
I'm
okay
just serious.
Too.
I'm just serious.
There's room for. I'm learning that there's room for the both of us, but. Again, it's like just that awareness, like that wasn't personal. And I'm not even suggesting that it's okay. Yeah. I'm suggesting that is a feature of the evolution of self.
I got you.
Like to want to become exactly what you're describing. You are actually a very thoughtful person. But when you're in survival mode, that's not a luxury you had. Yeah. You had to self-preservation, take care of yourself, do what you got to do. And now you get to settle into a place where there's maybe more room for you to include others.
For sure.
You know? So
we got survival mode. I talked a little bit about survival mode. Like I want to hear impact on you. Like some of the things we spoke about. What comes to mind when you think about the impact on you? Some stuff we talked about in the first episode.
As far as my story?
Yeah. Because I can give you some.
Well, tell me. You tell me. I'm telling you what you know, what I noticed about how your upbringing has impacted me. You tell me what you think for me.
Well, I think the number one thing is I would call it sometimes too nice.
Yeah.
Right. But then I think about, is there a such thing as too nice? Right. Because I think it's an amazing trait or attribute, whatever you want to call it, to think of others and to want to make sure that others are okay. But you don't want to do that to the detriment of self.
Right.
Right. And so I think that's one of the areas for me. I remember I was like, this girl is not like because you thought of things that I didn't think about. Why? Because my mind wasn't there yet. You know what I'm saying? And it could be the simple things like we were talking about. You getting yourself something to eat. Oh, you brought me food too? Like, you know, that's simple, but it's like those little things matter, especially when you are in a relationship that you want to have longevity, you know? Yeah.
But you know what I think I did bring that was incredibly detrimental, that you honestly are helping me recover from, is I didn't realize that I had this implicit expectation that men will disappoint you. That's what they're going to do. So I was always looking like on guard for that. And the smallest thing, see, he ain't bring me no food. He's selfish as hell. He don't think about nobody but himself. You know, and it was just kind of like it affirmed that belief system. And I think it connected to, yes, the father thing.
Yeah.
But I think mostly what it connected to, because I had great men in my life, like my grandfather, my godfather, who is my dad. Like that's who I call my dad. My uncles. So it wasn't a direct thing, but I watched my mother in relationship to men.
Yeah.
And I feel like my mom was always used up. Like they never seemed to really respect her. Like, you know, and I just remember feeling like, yeah, that's how that go. And even though my grandfather, I mean, this is a real podcast, so I'm just going to say what it is. Even though my grandfather was an incredible provider and he was such a fun and loving man.
OG, Jerry T.
Such an amazing man. I also feel like his identity like overshadowed my grandmother's to the sense like where it was like that kind of old school, like, you know, he was bigger than life. And she, even though she kept everything together, it appeared like she was a fixture, even though she wasn't, you know? And so I kind of felt disappointed by that. Like she don't really get enough respect and she's not included. And then I feel like even, you know, even my dad, like he's a loving and amazing guy, but I didn't necessarily appreciate how women always played like a secondary role. I didn't really like that. That made me feel away, especially as I got older. And so I just kind of always felt like men are going to let you down. You can't, you know. And so I brought that into the marriage.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because you've said things like almost like you were Gammy and I was your grandfather.
Yeah, I would see that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That parallel there. And that's interesting because anything you think, right, you speak. And you speak, then you act it out. And I think you almost in a sense you created your own reality.
I did,
right?
In a way.
You created your own.
Contributed.
You contributed. You contributed. I'm trying to create two words at once.
I contributed.
You contributed to your own reality.
Yeah.
And, you know, it also has impact on me. It had impact on me when I would hear it. And it's like, but then it was like, dang, it actually came true in a sense, right?
Yeah.
And so, but how do we work through those things? What do you think we did?
I mean, we keep talking about therapy. I mean, I think that's been one of our most consistent, useful tools.
Yep, because why? I told my therapist about you.
Yes, all the time.
See my shirt? I told my therapist about you. Anyways, go ahead.
But even like in the very beginning of our marriage, we went to therapy. Like there was no breakdown in the very beginning. There wasn't a specific issue, but we did it because we had a value in
Being
it. Like,
proactive.
Yeah, well, yeah. And like I'm a mental health provider. You're in the health and wellness arena as well. Yeah. So I think it was for the culture. Like, yeah, we do this.
Yeah.
So I think we did it with a little bit of a chip on our shoulder, but I thought it was really good because even though there wasn't anything really detrimental to work on, it felt like a cool bonding thing. Mm-hmm. Like we would, come home and talk about the therapist, and like not necessarily in a bad way.
Yeah, that one therapist was terrible. We tried to go, so we never forget him.
Terrible. So yeah, that was not good. Yeah. But yeah, we would do that. I think like, everybody talks about like date nights and all that kind of stuff. I won't be super generic about it, but I think the other way we got through it is I have always felt like, with the exception of maybe 3 or 4 occasions, specific occasions, I have always felt like we argue well.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I have always felt, like, respected. Like, you would never hit below the belt or, like, call me out of name. Or I always felt like...
Didn't say I wasn't thinking it, though.
Well, yeah, that's probably fair.
But I definitely didn't say it.
Yeah, no. And I mean, that's even more important. Like, you exercise restraint on behalf of your care for me.
For sure.
Like, I can accept that. I'm not offended by that. Because, I mean, I done said all kinds of
I'm
things
pretty
about
sure you done
like
said some stuff in your head.
But yeah, I think it was that. Like, we would argue well. Like, we talk all the time. I do feel like the therapy helps. I feel like we would read certain things together. I remember when we were reading that Boundaries book and All About Love.
Yeah.
Like how
but that was in a time.
That was in a hard time.
That was in a hard time. And you really making it sound like real sweet. But some of this time, and some of the time, give me your hand while I say this so you can feel this. So, some of the times were sweet, but some of the times were a time where we didn't know if we was going to make it.
Oh, no.
So
some of the times, I knew we weren't going to make it.
Oh, I had a point. Well, give my hand back. I knew. I knew a time. I knew a time too, but no, you're right though.
I mean, yeah, it really felt like this is gonna come to an end.
Yeah.
I remember a season where I felt like I have to divorce Joe, or I'm going to die. Like I'm gonna lose myself.
Yeah.
I really felt like that at a point. But and I'm not trying to make it sound good. I'm just kind of saying, because you said, how did we come out of it?
Yeah.
Well, usually, like with the exception of that very beginning, all of the other things that we've done came on the back of a rupture, like a big relational rupture or a dissatisfaction or issue. So it wasn't like fuzzy.
Yeah.
But I also feel like, but we did it though. Like, but True. We did the thing. True. Like, so maybe we don't read books all the time, but when we about to crash and burn, what can I do? Let me read this book. Let me call. Like, let me.
Let's
do
pray.
Something.
Let's pray more. 3 times a day.
And that's how it usually go, right?
Yeah.
That's when you broke is when you start having a budget.
Yeah.
So that's like what we did, and I think we got good at that to where it was like, okay, I don't need to feel as threatened in a hard time.
Yeah.
I don't need to feel like this is the end. I can just feel like, oh, I have felt this before. What do we do? And I think we've gotten better at that.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'll just say this. As I think about some of the things that you've been through, some of what I've been through, how we've gotten through it, people don't understand that, and I'm gonna keep saying this over and over again, right? We're all recovering from our childhood, right? And what happens is those things not only impact you as an individual, they impact your relationship, but they also impact your parenting, your career, how you move. Like, think about it. If the authority in your life as a child made you feel a certain type of way, right? When they spoke to you, when you were growing up, and you never liked that, you felt low, you felt down, you felt like you weren't heard or not seen. If you go into your professional life and you have conflict with authority, that stuff comes back up as an adult. And now your reaction to the authority in your life at the time could be detrimental because maybe they're going to fire you, or maybe you're going to cuss somebody out, or maybe you're going to physically, right? And so if you don't do, we're talking the work that we did, right? If you don't do some of the work that's necessary in order for you to get through some of those things that impacted you as a child, you will always have a rough life. You will never get to the abundance that's inherently yours.
Very true. Yeah. You're making me think of the way sometimes we talk to ourselves. Like, that's just who I am.
Yeah.
It ain't got to be.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be.
Yep.
It does not have to be. And that doesn't mean evolving or changing or transcending or doing something different is easy.
Right,
No,
right.
It's actually quite challenging. And it's a practice. It's something you commit to on a daily basis. But, you know, it's definitely not impossible. I mean, how depressing is that? To think like this way of existing in the world is just the way it's going to be forever.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. There's a part of me that thinks back on some of our hardest seasons, and I'm like, I have no idea how we got here. Like, I remember the day after maybe our second marriage or our first marriage, I can't remember. But I remember a day laying in the bed with you.
What were we doing?
We weren't doing anything, babe. We were just laying in the bed. Okay, fully clothed. We were chilling.
Got you.
And we were laying in the bed, and I remember noticing I genuinely feel a pleasantness towards him. Mm-hmm. Like, it was like, I was like, oh, I didn't realize I could have that again. Like, I genuinely felt like I like you again. You know, this is enjoyable again. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm grateful for that I was able to withstand the hardest moments to get to that.
Yeah. I think.
And I want to say definitively, I don't think the goal is always to stay. I think the goal is to be healthy. Yeah. The goal is to feel and live whole. Yeah. And when I say live and like feel and live whole, I don't mean feel good. Pleasure and wholeness is not the same thing. Right. Okay. Right. So I would never endorse staying just because for
the physical
or like
money,
you know, biblically even.
And
I don't believe in that. I believe our right is to live healthily. Yeah. And
healthily?
So, healthily. That's a real word.
No. Put me on, because your vocabulary better than mine. No, seriously.
Healthily is a word.
Okay, I'm just...
Like, yeah, I really believe that that's important. So I don't want to implicitly suggest, like, the goal is to just ride it out. Yeah. Because I have never felt abused by you. Mm-hmm. I think that's really important. Yeah. I've never felt intentionally harmed by you. So I think that's just a little disclaimer.
Well, yeah, and as we, just as we get to our takeaways, I'll just say you're right. I totally agree. Like the best plan or the best direction isn't always to stay together. Sometimes folks need to get divorced, or sometimes folks need to break up. Because the reality is, a lot of people knew from the get-go that wasn't right for them in the first place, but they still did it, and then they're struggling, and they're saying, well, why am I struggling? And so, like you said, the goal is to be healthy. The goal is to thrive individually first, and then come together collectively so that it can be even more powerful. Yeah. Right. And so that's what we've been working on. Right. We're still working on it. Don't leave me hanging. So we're still working on that. So what I will ask you is, what's your takeaway for the day?
I think I'm sitting with a lot of gratitude, because I feel like you've taught me what unconditional love really, really is. And I also feel like you've taught me a more sophisticated understanding around humanity. Like, I came into the marriage not knowing that I expected you to disappoint me, because you were a man, and that's what men do. And now I feel, I don't know, I keep saying threatened, but now I feel like people, like humanity, is ever evolving, and people will disappoint you. Like, you will, and not only that, but you will disappoint people. Yeah. because of ignorance, unawareness, wounds, whatever, and that does not necessarily correlate to that person doesn't love me or that person's an asshole, that person is this. It could really be a manifestation of something else. So it's like when you do something that I find dissatisfying or disappointing, I think my initial reaction because of the past is like, there it is, it's still in there. But my more mature reaction is, what is he still navigating? How can I help my partner? Like, how can I show him that he's not alone? And like that, and then for myself, that's not the whole story.
Right.
Like, yeah, you upset me today, or yeah, you disappointed me today, but no, Joe's actually not so. There you go, being selfish. Actually, he's really not selfish. Like, he's actually really not.
Yeah.
So it just helps me,
regulate
regulate my thoughts.
Yeah.
What about you? That was a long one. Sorry.
No, you long. Sometimes you need that violin music for her.
I just want to articulate myself thoroughly and clearly, okay? Because words matter.
Hey, listen. She can go. You ever get on the phone with somebody and you do this? But anyways, I'm just kidding. I'm just serious. So, for me, my takeaway is just grace. A lot of times we look at what people have done to us and we forget what we've done to other people. And I think it's important that if you want grace from somebody, if you want forgiveness from somebody, you have to also give it.
Yeah.
Right? You cannot receive what it is that you're not. Right. And so you have to radiate the energy that you desire to receive. That's why you got a lot of people out here saying, I want somebody to love me like this and do this for me and love me and blah.
And your ass ain't loving it.
They not loving. They not radiating the love. Like, you cannot receive it. And if you do receive it, you can't keep it. Right. You can't keep it. Right. And so that's why you have a lot of people, like, think of lottery winners. They get the money, but because they haven't done the work on how to manage money and their understanding of money energetically, then they lose it.
You know what? I also think this would be a different topic, but I also think that we don't really know how to operationalize love very well.
Yeah, it's plenty of different definitions.
Yeah. So that's the thing.
So I would want
to know for you for another day,
okay,
what is it that I do or don't do that makes you feel loved by me?
Oh, that's easy. Let me go on my phone real quick. No, I'm just kidding. I ain't got no list, but
next time.
We got you. So anyways,
it's been a ride. I need to fuel up the tank.
Hey, there you go. It's been one hell of a ride, y'all. And all these episodes are brought to you by the Diane Morgan Group, Joe Johnson Group. Make sure y'all go check us out. And like we said, hey, life is a journey and
a hell of a ride.
A hell of a ride. See you next episode.